Sanbonani, dumelang, thokozane. Na ka lebitso ke nna Gogo Moyo. Welcome to another episode of GMTV. Today in particular, we're going to be chopping up the interesting problems that we have when it comes to our minds that eventually affects our bodies and our lifestyle. And I'm talking about the dreaded anxiety and depression. This is the first installment of a two-part series on anxiety and depression. So next week we'll be chopping up all the different types of depression that there is, and to make sure you catch up on that, make sure that you do subscribe and you hit the notification bell so that you are updated with all our drops. Now tell me, have you found yourself that you perhaps may be experiencing fatigue, overthinking, restlessness? You find yourself with low energy, your sleeping patterns have changed, and you are struggling to have an appetite to eat your foods as you normally would. Are you finding that you're a person that's actually strange and different to yourself? Perhaps you may be suffering from anxiety or depression. Anxiety is your body's natural reaction to stress. It's about a constant fear of what's to come. Perhaps your first day at school, a job interview, all of those things can reduce a person to be stressful and be worried about the outcome of a certain event. So, beloveds, depression is a mood disorder which eventually affects how you feel and how you behave. So it always deals with your behavioral qualities as well. It affects your basic way of how you navigate through life and the different challenges, where you can have extreme highs and extreme lows, and they're titled under very different kinds of stages and the kind of effects that they have on each person. And that's what we're going to be talking about essentially. So now that you know what each of these terms mean, is it possible to have both? Certainly. Imagine if you have a fear of what's to come and you're also not really grounded in terms of how to manage your emotions. You would easily back and forth be worried about any kind of situation that you face in your life. It is treatable, but you also have to identify it in yourself to know that you are not the same person every day. I'm not saying wake up the same way and navigate your life the same way, but there's things and events that stand out for each person. Perhaps the way you reacted to a certain situation, road rage, how you behave when someone is speaking to you about some of your bad qualities. All of those combined, ultimately when you sit down in your quiet time and reflect on your day, reflect on yourself, you pick up and start noticing that actually I'm a bad-tempered person, or I'm quick to anger, or I'm quick to answer before I even understand what the question is being posed to me. When you identify certain things about yourself, then you can start going back into the knowledge and to actually research a bit more in terms of what is this thing and exactly how does it affect me? Is there anything I can possibly do to help myself be able to navigate it a lot easier? What are some of the misconceptions that people have about anxiety and disorder? Well, for instance, you could be known as a very moody person in your household. You're a difficult person to please because you're not really heightened by anything. Like, you don't feel like you have a lot of pleasure in a lot of things that are going on around you. Some people may call you all sorts of names, that you're boring, or maybe that it takes a lot to get you going. Or sometimes you may even start noticing about yourself as friends. We can decide to meet on a Saturday for lunch, coffee, or whatever the case is. But as soon as we're supposed to go there, your anxiety starts packing up and you start being fearful of things that are not even there, but in your mind, you've created certain scenarios. So those are some of the misconceptions that people have, is the misunderstanding of how a person is affected by them and the actual depth. Sometimes people can even be very dismissive of you when they find that you're not feeling well on a particular day. They think that you're just a person who wants attention, but they don't necessarily understand the chemical imbalances that you're struggling with and the fact that you haven't identified it in yourself, therefore unable to help yourself get out of these slumps. I briefly went into some of the symptoms earlier on, but just to chop it up a bit more. These vary from having a lack of appetite, struggling with sleep, struggling with concentration, very low motivation. Even getting out of bed is like uneasy. You don't feel like showing up to some of the things that you used to love. You may find that you don't have as much passion or drive that goes along with the things that you're interested in. Something else that could also be one of a symptom is being someone with a bad temper. Like you are quick to hit your fuse, you're someone you can't have a good conversation with because you're in and out of this constant state of fear that you've created in your mind. Imagine if already the world is it's difficult to be in. Whether you're young or you're old, whether you're moneyed or you're broke, it doesn't matter. We all face different challenges. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you've already figured out or created a scenario in your mind, are you going to be able to get out of bed? Will you find motivation to solve your problems? Or will you stay in your bed and actually act like the world is not existing beyond your bedroom door? So this is something that actually sits in your mind and it's captive of your spirit. Spiritually, this would mean that during the daily practices that you do, let's say that you have identified that you're a spiritual person and there's certain things that you must do on a daily to make sure that you keep your spirits in check and in high spirits and you actually get to use the energy that you feel. So if you don't actually get to translate and transform any of the energies that you have on a spiritual sense, you end up dipping into these pockets of depression and anxiety. So if I'm a person that regularly needs to visit the water for cleanses or for meditation, or I need to go into the wilderness and find a cave and have my meditation there, if I'm keeping my life constantly busy with activities about work or my family and I neglect this side of myself, it's inevitable that I'm going to slip into one of these. It's a lot difficult to get yourself out of it because, again, it takes a while for you to identify. By then, you've messed up really crucial relationships. You've lost out on great opportunities because you haven't been showing up to these places and to these events. By then, you can't reverse it as easily. So it's very good and important to make sure that you constantly stay making sure that you light your candles, you do self-care, you purge, you steam, you do all sorts of different kind of activities that will make you be able to always use and convert this energy. Also, something that's absolutely important, even if you don't feel like it, get out of your bed and move your body. However that translates to, whether it's to dance or to take a jog or to gym or whatever the case is, you certainly have to move your body because that's where some of the chemicals are going to be released, like endorphins, that make you feel great. They're an upper to a person who's already feeling very low and bothered. For the most part, depression is treatable. Again, by identifying that you do have a problem. Secondly, in most cases, you're going to be sent and taken for kind of evaluation. Sometimes you put on antidepressants to be able to help you, be able to kickstart some of these hormones that I've been talking about to make you feel better. For some of our spiritual people, some of these pills actually are downers for us because they take away the need to want to do certain activities. They want to do the tasks themselves, and then all of a sudden, miraculously, you feel better. Whereas in a spiritual sense, you actually have to actively go into these moments and to do these different activities. Hence why izangoma would be in a trance, bakite, and they would sing. Because when you're singing and chanting, that drumming is therapy for your spirit. You get to always spread out your arms, your knees are are high up in action, you are panting and ranting, and this is something that actually gets to help your heart rate go up. And everyone knows any activity that helps you get your heart rate up is good for you. Hence why you lose some of your highest calories, or you intensify on your muscle contractions when you are having the quickest heart rate. So make sure that as part of the movements that you do, it's always something that's intense, even if it's short, but let it be impactful. In addition to getting your kind of evaluations that you would get, some other people would resort to using drugs and alcohol to curb the effects that this depressive state would have on them. And then you find that someone drinks for pleasure, drinks to forget about their problems, and you find that your friends are actually a lot cooler when they've been drinking than when they're sober, because they're trapped in their minds and in this fearful state. We all know of a celebrity or two, or a relative or two, that has actually succumbed to the direness of the situation against depression and anxiety. Your Robin Williams, Alucci, Mac Miller, even our very own Double HP, Hip Hop Bansola. These were great icons in their own fields. All of them were called to life to become these magical people. Growing up, they knew they had a voice. They knew they wanted to share and spread a certain kind of message. So that's what they devoted their lives into doing, into always making sure that they were able to tell other people's stories as best as they could, even some of their own. But there's a quietness also about these kind of disorders that eats away at you in your own corner when there's no one watching. Because when you come out and you drop any kind of project or music, we're going to celebrate you. We're going to vibe to your tunes, to your messages, and we will be your biggest advocates. So what's the disconnection between someone who would be so successful at spreading a message and the person that they are behind closed doors in their homes? What could that kind of imbalance be, and why would it be so dire that someone could take their life? And that's the thing. Sometimes you feel like you are not worthy. You feel like you're not enough, or what you're doing or your efforts are not enough. And the question also would come back to be, to whom? For whom is it not enough? Because the whole world is out here celebrating you, but you in your mind, you've crucified yourself and you've taken away all the positives and only ever amplified the negatives. So that's actually the only brand image that you have of yourself. I'm fat, I'm ugly, I am not talented. Whereas to us, there's every kind of person in the world that can celebrate something very unique about you and can speak on it for time. Yet those are the same things that you want to take away from yourself. This situation is so bad that we've lost amazing people as a result of it. It shows that no one is immune from it. So the more we learn about how stressful some of these conditions are on our bodies, we'll understand that a person is made up of three: mind, body, and soul. So as us healers, we must remember that we're psychologists, we're physicians, we're herbalists, dealing with all the different elements of a person's body. So if you go for an evaluation and they give you a pill, it only takes care of your physical. What about your mental state, as well as your mind and your spirit? Those things also need to be tended for. Hence we say movement is key. It's important because at the time you have locked yourself into this fearful position that you end up not knowing that there's something great to live for. I'd like to talk to you about some of the key things that you can say to yourself or to someone that's struggling and dealing with any of these two conditions. Beloveds, I need to let you know that your struggle is real. There is no illusion to life. Days are not the same, neither will you, and that's okay. I want you to know that your fears are valid. You are well within your right to see things as you view them. I just need you to know that you don't have to stay there. You matter, you are important, and you are certainly enough. I need you to develop your personality. I need you to figure out the kind of person that you want to be, what brings you happiness, what brings you sadness, and I want you to be aware of it. And being aware of it, I don't say dwell on the things that you lack, but I want you to amplify the things that you are beautiful in and great in. I need you to take a break. Working overly, exhaustively, and unrealistically is not going to help you achieve your personal goal. Because if you're not good, you're no good to anyone else. I need you to get off that couch. I need you to get out of that bed. If you stay in it, you'll feel trapped in it, and therefore you'll feel like you've wasted a day. There's many a time when I've gone into some of my slips and my lows, and I have noticed, especially in my mornings, that if I stay too long in my bed, it's either I'm never getting out of that bed for that day, or I'm going to get out in a very destructive mood. We are very powerful, and everything starts from our mind. And if we acknowledge that about ourselves, then we'll give ourselves the right words and affirmations to make ourselves be able to be strong and bold in all the things that we do. I'm not saying that you don't have any problems or there won't be anything to have to mope about. You just don't have to dwell in it. Acknowledge whatever is going on. Be a person who's progressive. Have a great spirit that wants change in your own personal life. I also want to share a story about whenever I feel that I'm going through any of these anxiety-filled or depressed times, that's always a trigger to me that my spirit is unwell. I must find a body of water, a waterfall, or I must go meditate, or I must actively go do something that's spiritually uplifting for me. Anytime I am suicidal or I feel like my life is not worth it, I know that it's not a true reflection of myself, but my spirit wants and is yearning to grow. So don't be a barrier between the things that you feel you don't know about how to grow your spirit, but keep always actively wanting to learn more. It's going to help you get out of these slumps. I need you. We all need you. But we can't lose you to something that's only in your mind that we can work on effectively, continuously work on a day-to-day basis. Choose to fight. Choose you. I hope this was an enlightening video for you and encouraging for you to also understand that you're not going through this alone. Keep fighting. Thokozani. No one is taking away your validity. Joe, your what? What does Lala Hiramaya, Salamina Moses?
There's a lot to remember.
That's a lot, my guy. What does Lala Hirayama, Hirayama? If you don't know what that means and the depth it has on a person's toll in terms of their life, do stay tuned and stick the link below.